All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm doing something different. I used to do it before, but I'm doing something a little different. I'm live on a couple of platforms. Normally, when I do my podcast, Shine with Kendelllenice, it's an audio podcast and it's in its 10th season, y'all. So I'm going to be doing some different things this season. I'm grateful to have 10 seasons of my podcast. That sounds insane. So I'm so excited to bring you all along on my audio podcast. So I'm using a different device. Normally I use another computer. So we're going to pray and be in prayer that this is going to work with this one. Um, I'm looking at it. I can put my intro in here, but for some reason my commercials and stuff have not saved on this device. I wanted to use a different device because it has other benefits on it. All right, we're just going to do it. Shine with Kendelllenice is available on all podcast platforms. That's Apple Podcast, Google Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, what is it? Podcast Addict. It's so many different ones. YouTube. So, hey Sheila, I need we need to talk. So, I can't put my intro in, but that's what we're gonna work it out. We're gonna work it out. I'm gonna use this different computer. I'm using a different computer than I normally use. So we're gonna pray. But season 10, y'all, I cannot believe I'm in season 10 of my podcast. All right, we're gonna start the podcast. Dear Lord, please everything work. All right. All right. Hopefully this works out. Hey, everybody, it is Kendelllenice. Welcome to Shine with Kendellenice. All right, if the audio sounds different on my podcast listeners, because I'm streaming live on YouTube as well as Instagram right now. So I'm using another computer that I normally don't use for my podcast. It's the 10th season. We got to take some risk, right? To see. And I'm trying to see right now if my intro is going to play right now. And the audio listeners can tell me if it does. I'll try to do something different. I tested, but now I'm looking like, what's going on? So let's see if it works, y'all.
Shine with Kendelllenice. Real talk for real people. Let's shine together.
I hope the audio can hear it.
Shine with Kendelllenice. Real talk for real people. Let's shine together.
All right, y'all. It is season 10. Welcome to Shine with Kendelllenice. I am your host, Kendelllenice. And guys, I'm just grateful and thankful for all my riders, all my day ones who have been rocking with this podcast for 10 seasons. Y'all, insane. We have been rocking for 10 seasons, trying to see what's going on. I am doing something that I normally do not do often. Sometimes you'll see the audio of my podcast, but most of the time it's audio. That's what I've been doing for 10 seasons. But the 10th season, we are going to take some risk, right? So all of you that have been riding since season 1, you know that I have a theme for every season, right? You know, I've had amazing guests like Steve from Troop. I've had, y'all know the R&B group Troop. I've had entrepreneurs. I've had celebs. I've had regular folks. I've had people trying to make it. I've had comedians. Like, I've had everything. And then I've go through different last season 9 was all about healing, all kinds of healing, as my new book, excuse me, Your Unhealed is showing, sponsored season 9. Season 10, it's all about words. Now, we hear it all the time that words have power, words have impact. Watch your words, watch what you say. But I want to redefine some words for some people. I want to make it my business to teach you and coach you through some of the words. And some of the words in season 10, we're going to redefine the words, right? We are going to give the words a different power. We're going to reimagine what it's like to have these words. The first episode of season 10, I did forgiveness. So check that out. Now, this is the thing. I told y'all I was playing around, not playing around, working on this new device. And episode 1 of season 10 was deleted from the audio podcast, but you can still check the audio version out on my YouTube channel. So that's the beauty of having different outlets. And my audio podcast, always goes over to YouTube, the audio version. I'm just now doing a visual version. And if you look through the years, you'll see every now and then I'll peek in and do a visual, because I know some people like that. But I've been doing a traditional podcast for a very long time. And this is season 10 for this one. This is not even my first podcast. I've helped people develop podcasts. I used to have a podcast network where I had other podcasts on my network. So this is, a passion of mine. So I appreciate you for coming back every single time I upload a new podcast to rock with me and to listen to my voice. It's all about life coaching and to be better, right? And we're all on this journey together. So sometimes we'll be laughing on this podcast. Sometimes we'll be crying. Sometimes we'll be reflective. But most of all, we will be growing. And for all my new listeners, I thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this podcast, and all the people that share this podcast around. I'm greatly appreciative of it. All right. So the word for today's podcast, because remember, season 10 is all about words. It's fearless. FEARLESS. Y'all know I promote aging fearlessly, right? And I started thinking about being fearless. You hear people say faith over fear, and let's be fearless and don't have fear. But if someone is fearful, you can talk until you are blue in the face about, be fearless about it. Don't worry about it, be fearless. But how does someone do that when fear has taken over their life? How does someone do that? And we're going to talk about it. So this podcast is going to be shorter because remember, and this is the last time I'm going to say that, I'm using a different device. So all my commercials are not on this device, even though they've been uploaded. I'll figure that out later. But let's talk quickly about fearlessness. And what is that? And what does that mean? So we're going to start with this week's life note. And of course, I don't have the chime for y'all. And now, if this is your first time listening, you don't know what I'm talking about. But if you're an OG listener, you know how my show is run. So if you, how it's ran. So if you are listening for the first time, go back and listen to some other ones and you'll see everything that I'm talking about. But the beat still goes on. I did not want to wait any further. You guys were asking when the next episode, season 10, episode 2, which is this episode 211. All right, so let's talk about it. This week's life note. The life note is a quote, a saying, a word to carry you through the topic of this episode and throughout your life. You may know some of the authors of the quotes, or it just may be a darn good quote. All right. So, this week's life note: life begins where fear ends. Life begins when fear ends. Now, I don't know who had that quote, but they are on to something. So let's talk about fearless. Let's first define the word. What is fearless? And it's not a Taylor Swift song, because as soon as I put it on the definition, it said Taylor Swift, and I was cracking up. I was like, okay, well that is fearless, but we're not talking about that. It's just lacking fear, a fearless defender of freedom. So let's break that down. Fearlessness is not freedom. To be fearless means to be fearful. Let me say, to be fearful means you don't have freedom. To be fearless means that there's some freedom involved. There's some freedom involved. And we're going to talk about that. Excuse me, guys. We're going to talk about that. So let's get into that. And hello, everybody who is listening. Y'all going to make my audio podcast listeners jealous, because normally I give all of my attention to my audio podcast. So if I don't answer your questions or I don't respond on social media, it's not because I don't love y'all, but I want to try to keep this going. Because remember, you guys are watching me, they're listening. So they don't know what I'm doing or saying. So if it pertains to fearless, I'll do something different. I'll read fearlessness and fear. I'll read your comments on the podcast at that point. All right. So when I think about being fearful, right? I think about the unknown. I think about when someone says, I'm fearful of that. It may not be because they're fearful down to the core. It might be the fear of the unknown. And I graduated from high school earlier than some of y'all probably been born, in the 80s, right? The last year of the 80s, but nevertheless the 80s. And in our yearbooks, we had to have a quote. And I should get my yearbook. But my quote was something like, "Look, the later the years get, the long, the more I forget the exact quote." Right? It was like, "Don't be fear is fear of the unknown," or something like that, or "Don't be fearful of the unknown." It was something like that, and I was 17, probably 16, when I decided what the my quote would be. Fear of the unknown. And you think about a 17-year-old, right? I graduated at 17 years old. Okay. I graduated at 17 years old, right? And you're going out into this big world. You're starting college for the very first time. You don't know anything about adulting. You don't know anything about college because you've never been. You don't know what to expect from the world that you're about to face when you're a young person. You just know, in some households, in some communities, in some families, you go from elementary school to junior high school. That's what we call it in Jersey. Some say middle school. Then you go to high school, and then you go to college. Like, that's just a given. You're going to go to college, or some may go to vocational school, or go into an apprenticeship, or family business, or get a job, right? So some of these things are depending on where you grow up, your culture, your heritage, your neighborhood, your community. There's a certain a certain protocol that you take. You have no clue what it is. You've seen people do it, but you haven't experienced it yourself. So then you go into a situation where it could be fearful because you have no idea what's about to happen and what's going to go on. And you can do it two ways. You can be fearful or you can be fearless, like, okay, this is my world. I graduated from high school. I'm going to see what's what. I'm going to see how I can conquer. No, boom. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. I remember my quote. I said, whatever you fear, conquer it. That was my exact quote. Whatever you fear, conquer it, right? So if I go back to Kendell at 17 years old, she was bold. She was fearless. She said, whatever you fear, conquer it. I'm 52 now. Let me think if I said, whatever I fear, conquer it now. I would have to say yes. I'm still that same girl. I'm that girl. I'm still that same girl. Whatever you fear, conquer it. And that's the thing. You can look at it two ways. You can look at fearful and fearless. Are you going to be fearful just because you don't know the unknown? Or are you going to be fearless and say, you know what? God got this. God got me. I'm going to go ahead and press forward. And it all depends on how you look at things in life. How do you look at words? Do you look at words like fearful and give them power? Or do you look at words like fearful or fearless and say, you know what? That's what I am. I'm going to speak it into myself, even if I am fearful. I'm not going to tell myself I'm fearful. I'm going to say I'm fearless because I fear less when I know God got my back. Hello, somebody. So, are you fearful because people tell you that's scary? You should be fearful. Are you going to zip line? Because that's a little scary. You're all the way up there on the little rope and the little line. They telling people this while they in line waiting to zip line, right? Are you fearful? Because I would be scared. I can't zip line because that line might break. And some people put fear into your head where there was no fear because people project often their fears on you. You ever see somebody do that? And I have to think about my life and I have to think about, am I still living that quote that I had from high school? Whatever you fear, conquer it. Right? And again, I have to say yes. Now, speaking of zip lining, the first time I zip lined, I was in my 40s. I was fearful. I've done it twice since. I was fearful, like shaking in my boots, scared, fearful. And I was that one speaking the negative into my life. Like, I don't know if you should climb up there. I don't know if you do it. What if this happens? What if that happens? And I go down a litany of things that could happen. But then I saw and see little kids doing it. Now, this is the thing about me, and this is the thing about conquering your fears. Although I was nervous, I was afraid, I was scared, I was fearful, I was going to do it anyway because I wanted to experience that and I was going to do that. So as anybody that's gone jet skiing, that too. We'll talk about that maybe another time. But zip line, you could tell that was my subconscious saying I was fearful to jet ski and I still did it. That was my subconscious coming out when I'm trying to talk about zip lining, right? So anybody that zip lines, you know that you have to put on all the accoutrement to make sure you're safe, to make sure you're protected. Because truthfully, anything can happen. But if you turn your thoughts around, say, ain't nothing gonna happen. I got this. And then I saw little kids getting all ready. They were excited because kids don't have fear. Kids do not have fear. When you say ready, set, they already started to go. They have no fear and they just do it. Let's get that childlike fear and let's let that fear that they don't have and let's bring that more to the forefront. Let's get that fearlessness because we're talking about being fearless and let's impart that into ourselves. Let's get our childhoods back where we were doing all kind of things, fearful or not, we were doing it. We didn't even know what that was. It wasn't until we got into adulthood and stuff started getting real and people started putting their fears on us to be able to do that. So when I went to be able to do whatever because they were so scared, some people are fearful of everything, right? Have you ever met people who were fearful of everything? Some people are. So back to zip lining. So I see the little kids, they're so excited, they're fearless, they're putting on their gear and they're ready to go. So I'm standing there and y'all pro zip liners never told me that the real fearful part is climbing up to get to the platform to then zip line. That was where I got shook when I was looking at the steepness of it all. I got fearful. I still conquered because I still was steadfast on doing it. So, y'all, so I had the stuff on. First time I went with a friend. The second time I went with my two daughters. The second time I was still as fearful as the first time when I conquered and did it, right? The second time I have to post it later on. My daughter video, she recorded it. So I can't remember in what position I went with my daughters. If I was first, I wasn't first. If I was first, middle, or last. But anyway, when I got to, it was time for my turn, right? So I go up the little rickety steps, and the little steps are like pegs. So I'm like, this is what I should be fearful of, right? This is what I should, people don't talk about that. So I want to do a public service announcement, a KSA, Kendell service announcement to say, if you are fearful and you're going to do it anyway, get your mind right when it's time to climb whatever you're doing, right? So where I went, I had to climb. So I'm climbing up, and it's this small platform, this little platform. And that's when they hook me up, and that's when they go and just say, jump. So I was so fearful, but I wasn't going to allow my fear to stop me from an experience I wanted to experience. Let me say that again. I wasn't going to stop my I wasn't going to stop being fearless based on my fears for something that I truly wanted to experience. So I did it in Kendell fashion. I screamed the entire way, y'all. The entire way. And if you don't believe me, you'll see it on my I'll post it. So my daughter recorded it. You can hear in the background laughing. And I'm looking at the guy and I'm like, it's time to jump. So are you going to push me? Or am I going to just say 1, 2, 3? Is there going to be a count? Like, how does this work? This is what I'm thinking and saying out loud. And he's like, no, you're just going to just let go and you're just going to jump. And then the zip line is going to take you the rest of the way. I'm like, okay, am I putting my trust in the zip line or am I putting my trust in God? Because I choose God every time. I'm like, the zip looks it looks strong enough to float me along, but I got to pray. So you got to pray to make it today and make it through that zip line. So when I jumped and let go of that zip line, I screamed the entire way, but boy, oh boy, it was a freedom like you would never know. And if you've zip lined out there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It was a freedom like no other. It was so exhilarating. Now, had I been too fearful to try, I might not even be having this conversation about ziplining because I wouldn't know nothing about it because I was too scared and I was too fearful to even take that leap. Listen, I'm going somewhere with this. I would have been too fearful to take that leap. How many of you out there are too fearful to take a leap that you were called to take, that you want to take? The fear, the how many of you are too fearful to start a new job, start a new career, have children, be in a relationship, fearful to start new friendships? How many of y'all are too fearful to make the next move, even if God is telling you to make it? Think about it. Think back to a time where you were so fearful, but you conquered and you pushed through anyway. And now that's a testimony, and now that's something that you're proud of. And you were able to see your muscle being built at that time. You were able to conquer that fear. Because once you conquer that fear, you become fearless in that area. Then you go through another fear, you conquer that fear, and then now you are fearless in another area. And all you believers out there, if you believe in God, there's nothing to fear but fear itself. Think about it. Now, don't just walk around with a t-shirt that says faith over fear and you still fearful that if you cross the street, then something may happen. Or now, fearlessness doesn't mean not to use discernment, not to use your own mind, not to proceed with caution. But fear, I've seen in clients, I've seen in friends, I've seen in family that being fearful has truly stopped people from living what they were called to be. Think about that. Think about in your own life where fear paralyzed you. So, how do you be bold, be fearless? Even when I talk about aging fearlessly as an aging coach as well, right? So many people are depressed, worried, concerned, frazzled about hitting milestones like hitting 21 because they didn't experience or accomplish what they wanted. 30, oh my God, I should have been pregnant, had a baby. I should be on my fourth kid right now, right? Fear, they're not aging fearlessly. They're aging fearful because they're anticipating what's supposed to happen and what's not going to happen in these years. 40, 50, 60 people. I have clients in their 50s, in their 30s, and I hear it all the time. I have clients in their 20s. 25-year-old, I had a client. She's so fearful about turning 30. Everything in her life is paralyzed at 25, and she will not be 30 for another 5 years. She's paralyzed in fear of what if this doesn't happen by then? What if that doesn't happen? And she's wasting and not celebrating the current life that she's living right now. So when I talk about being fearless, it doesn't mean that I'm never fearful, but I don't live in fear. You think about that and then you say, you know what, God? You know what I'm saying? And that's really what it has to be about anything. Anything. You're going to use your discernment, you're going to use your wisdom, you're going to use your brain, you're going to use your experiences and your knowledge, but you still have to push through the fear. There's an acronym: fear. False evidence of appearing real. Fear. Now, am I going to say fear is not a thing? No, because fear is a thing. Some life coaches will say fear is not a thing. It is a thing. And anxiety is a thing. And it's real for many. But I want you to practice being fearless. I want you to fear less. Fear less. So it doesn't mean that you're going to be fearless all the time, but you're going to begin to start to fear less and start to live more. You got it? All right. So, all right. Instagram just fell. You still with me? YouTube, you still with me? All right. My Shine with Kendelllenice listeners, are you still with me? Thank you. I'm not doing any commercial breaks. I'm going straight through. So if you have a friend or family that you want to hear this message and you want to tell them about Shine with Kendelllenice, don't be stingy. Share this episode out to all those who need a little positivity and free life coaching to help be better in this life, right? Because it's all about growth. It's all about learning. And you're never too old to learn. You're never too old or too anything, right? To be better than you were yesterday, today. And it's all about knowledge. Now, can I come on here and fool around and joke and laugh with the best of them? Yeah, because I'm a low key comedian. I could do that. But I want to push forward us being better and us being able to move forward in a different way and use words differently, like fearless. We say it all the time: be fearless. But do you even know what that means and how to articulate that to someone that's fearful? Think about the words that you're saying. Fearless. 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 All right. So, looking at Better Up, if you're just tuning in for the first time, I love to get other experts' opinions on certain things so you just don't hear my voice, even though it's my podcast, but you're going to hear my voice and my views and my takes. And then I always want to hear what someone else says. So, betterup.com says, be brave even if you aren't yet. Some say fake it till you make it. I say faith it till you make it. That's right. Fearless. The more you say it, the more fearless you will, the more fearful, the less fearful, I should say, you will be, and the more fearless you will be. You have to really, what you focus on is what you become. And the words that you speak to yourself, you can either speak life into yourself or you can speak not life into yourself. You can speak yourself into a crippling stage where you're not living to your fullest potential because you are taking these words and you are believing what other people say instead of taking these words and turning them into power and allowing you to live powerful, as Instagram said. So it's important. Shout out to Taz Hall on Instagram. Absolutely. So it's about what you speak to yourself, because if you're around the wrong people, people can speak fear into your life. People can speak certain things in your life that you don't even believe yourself. So it's very important to guard your ear gates and to really understand who you are and be able to apply words in a different way to your life to give them power. You know how it is when people say a negative word or somebody's like, don't give that any power. It's true. Don't give those words power. All right. So Better Up says, be brave even if you aren't yet. 9 ways to conquer fears. Let's get into it. I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna hold it because I've got all these things going at once. Okay. Number one. All right. Fear holding you back, it says. Do you want to meet the best version of yourself? Start by learning how to be brave. Taking steps to live courageously, get out of your comfort zone is the quickest path to reaching your fullest potential. Is fear holding you back from making life changing decisions? Like I said, one, fear can be paralyzing because it can stop you from living the life that you're called to live. And so, personal growth. Each of us are on our own unique journey of personal growth. It's a continuous process that spans over our entire life, right? So, setting and achieving goals. They're saying build self-esteem, find your purpose through fear, professional growth. If it's something that you want to do professionally, but you're fearful of doing because you might be the first one in your family to ever do that. You might be the first one in your family to get a college degree. You might be the first one in your family to achieve a level of success. You might be the first one of your family to be a doctor or a dentist or, a teacher. You might be the first to do all of these things. And sometimes when you're the one going first, there's some fear connected to it, right? But once you do it, then you allow the next person behind you, family, friend, or otherwise, be less fearful and more fearless to move through. Emotional growth. Sometimes we just don't know how to emotionally grow, and this is a strong part of what Shine with Kendelllenice is. It's about emotional growth because I wasn't always emotionally grown. I was a grown woman, but I wasn't always emotionally grown. That's something that you have to work on. That's something that emotional intelligence, that's something that you have to um, be aware of and continuously work on that, right? And that's with everything in life. So emotionally, you may be fearful, but you can be emotionally fearless too by owning your emotions and not allowing anyone to dangle your emotions and to be a puppeteer of your emotions. No one should have that much power, right? Okay. And this one says, okay, so let me go through real quick. All right. So, how to be 9 ways to become fearless. Acknowledge your fear. Yep, I'm fearful. I'm scared. I don't know what to do. Don't try to sweep it under the rug. Own your fear. That's what everything. Own whatever it is that is stopping you from being great. Own it. That's number one, acknowledging. Two, confront it. Confronting your fear is about understanding the underlying reasons why you're afraid in the first place. Why are you afraid? Number three, use positive self talk. Love that. Self talk is that inner voice that's inside your head that reveals your beliefs and thoughts. When you are afraid, it means that for a long time you've created a negative stream of self talk that may look like this. I would like to speak up more during meetings, but I'll probably just say the wrong thing. So, how many of you out there work and you know they're wilding? You know they're wrong. You got the answer. You know what it is, but you don't like the sound of your own voice, or you're second guessing your thoughts and your intelligence. So you're fearful to speak in meetings. So you won't. It's time to speak up and it's time to be fearless. Number 4 on this list, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I love that. Let me just tell y'all, you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. because life ain't always cushy and comfortable. And if you lived it long enough, you know that I'm telling the truth. Um, this says, so if you're afraid of being alone, for example, to see a movie by yourself, if you want to be even braver, take a solo trip. So get comfortable being uncomfortable. As a life coach, I tell my clients all the time, date yourself, self dates, self contracts. I have them sign to be good to themselves. So people do say, I'm fearful to go to, I'm gonna go to dinner by myself. Yes, I'm gonna go to the movies by myself. Yes. Stop being what you afraid of. And then you come down to some simple fear of people going to think I ain't got no friends. What? So you're fearful from experiences. You want to go to that concert. Nobody you knew had the money, the time, or the resources, or wanted to go to that concert. So you missed your favorite performer because you had nobody to go with because you were too fearful to go alone. Get a grip and go. Number 5 on this list, make being brave a habit. Once you conquer your fear for the first time, don't stop there. Strengthen your fearlessness like a muscle by overcoming your fears on the regular basis. Love it. Number 6, practice mindfulness in all areas of your life. Staying grounded and being present in the moment, right? You're always if you're always afraid of what might happen, not what is actually happening in the present moment. And that's the thing, y'all. Most people are fearful because they're afraid of what may happen down the line. So they're ruining the precious present moment because they're fearful of what hasn't even happened yet. Yes, I love doing shout out to Sheila. I love doing things by myself too, especially the movies. It's so fun. You could talk at the movies. You can eat what you want. You can sit where you want. You don't have nobody telling you shh or this, it's just fun, right? You could talk to the screen. I know people be mad at people talking to the screen, but whisper to yourself. All right, number 7, find a mentor. Do you know anyone in your personal professional life who's fearless? Ness, let me read this again. Find a mentor. Do you know anyone in your personal or professional life whose fearlessness and confidence you admire? So if you know someone that you work with or in your family, or she's a life coach with a purple head wrap on, ask. That's what this show is about. Ask, how can I be fearless? If somebody asks you that, send them this episode. 8, embrace failure. We've often afraid to do something because we're afraid of failure. We try it, we do it once, and soon as we fail, we give up. Child, not me. Not me. I keep trying. I done tried it in marriage. I done tried it in relationships, friendships. I done tried it in career moves. I done tried it in job. Like I just don't give up. Like I'm not that person. I don't give up. Just because something failed, I say it didn't work because sometimes it's really not a failure. If it didn't work, then you try it. If you can't get through the door, get through the doggy door. Go around it, try it again, conquer it. If you're fearing it and you're fearing, well, I messed up once or I failed once or it didn't work once, I'm not going to try it again. Try it again. 9, don't aim for perfection. I don't even like that word because perfection seems so boring. I don't even like that word, right? Because people are trying to attain this perfection that doesn't even exist. Don't aim for perfection. To overcome your fear, to approach anything. Don't try to do it perfect. Next time you want to try something you fear, don't have any expectations on how it's going to go. Just let it go. Let it go and let it flow, and to be able to flow into being fearless. Y'all, I did this thing straight through. I didn't have any of my commercials and my bells and whistles. And we are in season 10 talking about words. Words have power. And the words that you speak over yourself and say, I'm fearful. Try saying next time, I'm fearless, because if you continuously say, I'm fearful, you're going to continuously be fearful. But if you say, I'm fearless, and you try to take the steps to be fearless and fearless, then you're going to be fearless. Do it anyway. Take it from a 17-year-old, could have been 16-year-old high school student about to graduate from high school in South Jersey. Whatever you fear, conquer it. That was my, what do they call them? Perlatives or perlative, something like that. The quotes that you have in high school, all the little things that they do, best dress, best this, do the all of those superlatives, something I can't even think right now. But I'm not fearful that I might have said the word wrong. If I did, that's fine. Correct it. It's all good. But take my advice as a 17-year-old. Whatever you fear, conquer it. And then when you conquer that fear, you're going to be less likely to be fearful the next time you try that thing again. If you never conquer that fear is going to paralyze you from living your very best life. And I want everybody to live the best life that they can here. It's so important to do that because you want to make the most of the time you have. And if the first part of your life you've done it fearful, let's do the second half, the second act of your life, the third act of your life, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth act of your life. Let's do it fearlessly, right? And it starts with the choice to say, you know what? I'm going to do things differently. So what if it didn't work? I'm going to do it again. So what, I didn't conquer it the first time? I'm going to conquer it again. Stop being fearful. Be fearless and live your life. All right, everybody. I thank you so much for taking this time to join me on season 10. Can we just pause again for that? I'm so excited. Season 10 of Shine with Kendelllenice. I'm so proud of me, and I'm proud of you guys. I'm proud of me because consistently I have recorded and uploaded episodes to help grow you, to be better, to learn. Even when I do these podcasts, I learn and I speak again into my own life. So because I'm the expert and been podcasting for so long and been a life coach for over 20 years and I do all of these things, that doesn't mean I'm different from you guys. I experience some of the same things that you guys do. And if I can give you my expertise, I have the education, the certifications, and all the accolades and all the things to be able to deliver messages like this. But the biggest thing that I have is life experience, right? And with my age has come wisdom, right? So I would love to see you guys live even a better life than I have. Just like my kids, I tell them all the time, if I have to go through the mud and go through everything and experience everything and can teach you from that so you don't have to go through it, then I will do it over and over again. So learn, and not just, I can't say everybody that's aged has wisdom, but everybody that ages each year does have something that you can take away from them, right? So if someone else can show you better than they can tell you, use somebody else's life, use somebody else's words to stand on, right? Season 10 is all about words. I can't wait. Sheila, you up next. We're going to be talking about aging. That was going to be a word we're going to talk about. We're going to be talking about love. That's going to be a good one. We're going to talk about compassion. We are going to talk about so many words. So if you have your word that you want me to spotlight and you want me to break down like I did with this one as life coaching, email me at kendelllenice@gmail.com and say, in the subject line, shine with Kendelllenice words. Give me your words and we'll talk about it. And then maybe you can be a guest on Shine with Kendelllenice and we can break it down together. Or I can do a life coaching session right on the air. I told y'all, season 10, y'all, see two nickels, a dime, right? We're going to do things differently. Let me read the last comments. Congratulations. Thank you. I appreciate it. To God be the glory, man, to be able to do 10 seasons. I'm so thankful and grateful. Let's say hello, my lover. Wow, I'm very proud of you. This generation today gives up easily. I love you. Thank you for all you do. Thank you so much, Alice. I appreciate your continuous support. Everyone, I thank you for supporting me with Shine with Kendelllenice. Remember, it's available on all social media. Excuse me, that's my other all social media platforms. Yes, you can follow me on all social media platforms, but the podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Podcast Addict, YouTube. It's everywhere. So wherever you listen to your podcast, please, please, please follow this podcast. If you can leave a comment, please do that. If you can rate, please do that. Most importantly, please share. I appreciate it so much. For more information about me, you can always visit kendelllenice.com. Visit me, follow me on all social media platforms at Kendelllenice. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Kendelllenice. All right, y'all. Remember, you are a star, so don't allow anyone to dim your shine. Till next time, God bless. Peace, y'all. Woo!
Shine with Kendell Lenice. Real talk for real people. Let's shine together.
All right, y'all. Give it about 5 minutes. It's on all podcast platforms. If you're still watching, I ended the audio podcast. Let me close my computer. Guys, if you haven't purchased my book yet, please do so. Amazon.com, excuse me, your Unhealed is showing, Healing Purposely, Aging Fearlessly. All right, y'all. Peace. God bless you.